Hardtail EMTBs are back for 2021 thanks to Cube's Reaction Hybrid series. These hardtail electric mountain bikes offer Bosch performance, 100 millimeters of travel in the front fork, 29er wheels to get over the rootiest, rockiest sections, and an overall pretty solid ride, and you can actually get going on some pretty aggressive trails in comparison to what you can do on a full suspension EMTB. But the coolest thing about these Reaction Hybrid bikes is that they are offered in frame sizes as low as 13.5 inches in a trapeze frame, which is like a low step style frame, meaning that riders under 5 feet can get on a pretty solid hardtail electric mountain bike. But you still got to decide if the Reaction Hybrid is right for you, so we are going to give you a breakdown of Cube's Reaction Hybrid series for 2021 and who these bikes are going to be for. Before we continue, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Fly Rides Electric Bike channel. If this is already helpful for you, drop a like down below, but subscribe either way because we are going to have a ton of EMTB reviews for you so you can figure out what to get for 2021 and beyond. But for right now, let's break into the Cube Reaction Hybrid series. So there are two Reaction Hybrids coming to the United States for 2021. The Cube Reaction Hybrid Pro and the Cube Reaction Hybrid Performance. The Pro is going to be the higher end model and the Performance is going to be the entry level. We are going to focus on the 500 watt-hour models of both of these bikes because that is most of what's coming to the States. You can upgrade to a 625 watt-hour battery on the Pro model, but for right now in this video we're going to focus on the 500 watt-hours. So the Reaction Hybrid Performance bike is going to come in at $30.99 and the Reaction Hybrid Pro is going to be $34.99. I want to tell you that up top so you can figure out if you think that $400 difference is going to be worth it based on what you get. And what you get, we're going to talk about right now. Let's talk about specs, baby.
Let's talk about specs, baby.
Starting off with the drivetrains, on the Reaction Hybrid Performance, you are going to get a Shimano Alivio. I never know how to pronounce that. It's a 9-speed derailleur though. It is one of Shimano's entry-level derailleurs on an 11 to 36 tooth cassette in the back. Should be a fair amount of climbing power. It's not going to be like your traditional mountain bike cassette, but it's enough climbing power to get you up most hills. The Reaction Hybrid Pro is going to offer a SRAM SX derailleur on an 11 to 50 tooth cassette in the back. That is definitely going to be some significantly more climbing power. That cassette is a pretty big difference and one of the only big differences between these two models. So that drivetrain is going to be the main thing that separates these two. The motors are going to be different as well. The Reaction Hybrid Performance is going to come with a Gen 3 motor, so that's going to be the 65 Newton meter torque Bosch Performance motor. It's still a very strong motor. 65 Newton meters is nothing to stick your nose up to. So stop sticking your nose up at it. It's really quiet. I really like the Performance motor and it still offers a ton of power up hills. That combined with the 11 to 36 tooth cassette in the back will be enough for most riders, especially if you're lighter weight. Again, one of the main things that's cool about these Reaction Hybrids is that 13.5 inch frame. So if you're a smaller rider, probably what's offered on the Performance is going to be fine for you. The Reaction Hybrid Pro comes with a Generation 4 Bosch Performance CX motor. So of course that is going to be the 85 Newton meter torque, newest edition of Bosch's EMTB motors. You guys probably know a ton about this motor at this point. So if you're looking for power, the Bosch Performance CX on the Reaction Hybrid Pro is probably going to be the way to go. Either way, both bikes are offering a Bosch motor, which are very reliable, and a 500 watt-hour battery, which in either motor should get you between 30 and 50 miles pretty easily. On that Generation 3 Performance motor, you're probably going to get a little bit more range out of it because you're probably going to be pulling a little less power. The group sets on both the Reaction Hybrid Performance and Pro are going to be rounded out by Shimano hydraulic disc brakes on 180 millimeter rotors. These are 2-piston hydraulic disc brakes, but it should be plenty of power for the type of riding you are going to be doing on a hardtail EMTB. Continuing on to that suspension, as we mentioned at the top, it is 100 millimeters of travel, and they both offer Suntour forks. It is the XCM fork. It is a coil spring on the inside of that fork, so it's not an air spring on these. These will be coil springs. We'll talk more about it in the ride review when Will and I take these bikes out, but I actually really was impressed by the performance of the Suntour XCM. Obviously, Suntour isn't like the top name in suspension, but I thought it really did the job. It was really nice. On both the Reaction Hybrid Performance and the Reaction Hybrid Pro, it is going to be 29er wheels, which is really a welcome addition so that you can roll over kind of rooty areas, rocky areas. The Performance is going to be 2.35 inch wide, Smart Sam tires, and then on the Pro, it is going to be Smart Sam tires as well, but they are 2.6 inches wide. Now, the one exception is going to be on the 13.5 inch models of the Reaction Hybrids. Those are going to come with 27.5 inch wheels because it's just too small of a frame to have the 29ers on there. So it kind of makes sense to have the 27.5 inch wheels on the 13.5 inch frames for those smaller riders. Either way, on all of those frame sizes, the wheel sets are sized appropriately for maximized comfort and again, the safety and security of riding on those rooty, rocky features that you might get into on this bike. So those are the specs that I would focus on when you're looking at what you're going to get out of the Reaction Hybrids performance-wise. But of course, the ride is just as important, if not more important than the specs. So Will and I took out these Reaction Hybrids on our trails next to our new headquarters, which we'll have a video coming out very soon about, so that we could see how the Reaction Hybrids performed in real-life conditions.
Hello, buddy. A nice day in Poway. About 9 in the morning. Phew. There we go. Bit of single track out here. We're on the 2021 Cube Reaction Performance. This is a double XL frame. It's got the performance motor, the Gen 3. Let's give it a try, see what we like about this. Actually really excited about getting on the performance motor on dirt. Usually I'm on the CX, whether it's a Gen 2 or a Gen 4. We're gonna see how the climbing ability is on this guy. Let's see, what am I in right now? Tour mode. Let's go ahead and kick that up. MTB, they threw it on here finally. I thought that was an exclusive Gen 4 or a CX motor. But they put it on the performance motor now too, so let's see how it climbs. Pretty good. Just like you expected the MTB to be. Ooh, this is nice actually. All right, for this final part, let's go turbo. See how it does. Pretty similar. Probably because I was already cranking away in the MTB. That's good. Not bad.
These Reaction Hybrids can kind of rip, you guys. It's impressive for sure.
My first ride out here on the Hardtail, the Reaction, of course, is one of those that probably the lowest price point you can really get for an actual mountain bike out here.
For a pretty capable mountain bike, that's pretty amazing. You're not getting the full suspension, of course, but you usually ride full suspension on this, right?
That's the whole point, yeah. I usually ride full suspension, so it's kind of nice going back to the roots.
Definitely handling it like I think I came into it thinking it would be kind of like, more like lifestyle fire road kind of bike, but they're definitely taking on some pretty intense stuff, so it's impressive to see.
Definitely. Everything you would expect from a hardtail. Definitely used to my full suspension, but it's actually not that bad, especially with the 29er tires. It's got great rolling over here. Let's see here. Got the 9-speed Shimano Alivio drivetrain, Shimano hydraulic disc brakes. Now I'm on a double XL. I'm 6'3". I'm gonna say this geometry feels pretty good, actually. Ew.
So we were riding mostly on fire roads, a little bit of single track, and a little bit of kind of loose gravel. For fire roads, the Reaction Hybrids performed unbelievably well. I actually like having only a front fork that you can lock out when you're climbing up fire road features, but you can also open up that front fork and handle a little bit of single track as well. It was a really impressive ride. I was concerned initially about having only 100 millimeters of travel as opposed to like a 120 up front, but I found for the type of stuff that we were doing, it wasn't really necessary to have the 120 millimeters of travel. 100 millimeters of travel did just fine. So while you're probably not gonna be doing any sort of jumps or like, you know, super fast downhill and aggressive downhill Red Bull style stuff, this is a great kind of recreational ride bike. And I was really surprised about how it performed on single track. The single track was not an issue for me. Again, I don't really ride particularly rough riding or anything like that, so for my style of riding, I thought the Hardtail did plenty of work, and I never felt like I was not able to do something I wanted because I didn't have a full suspension. Hands down, the coolest thing about these bikes is that it is a high-quality EMTB, and you can definitely fit riders who are less than 5 foot. I would say you might even be able to get someone as short as like 4'8", 4'9" on that trapeze frame, 13.5 inch. There just aren't a lot of options still for riders of that size, and having the Reaction Hybrid Series in a size that small really is a game changer for riders who have maybe kids that want to ride with them, or shorter significant others that want to come along as well. This bike performs really well, and it fits people who are a little bit smaller. So I definitely recommend the Reaction Hybrid Series overall. Between the Performance and the Pro, I definitely like having that drivetrain, you know, a little bit upgraded. It's more of an EMTB drivetrain, that SRAM SX with the 11 to 50 tooth cassette. I really enjoyed that derailleur and that drivetrain, but you are saving $400 if you go with the Reaction Hybrid Performance, and I still think that Generation 3 65 Newton meters of torque Bosch Performance motor performs really well, and it is so much quieter than the Generation 4 motor. So there's benefits to both, but if you want something that's going to be higher spec, obviously you're going to go with that Pro, and I think the upgrades there are worth $400, no question. You're getting a stronger motor and also an upgraded drivetrain on the Pro, but again, if you are in even relatively good shape, I do think the Generation 3 motor with 65 Newton meters isn't going to be an issue for you either. Either way, some areas where I would probably upgrade this bike if I were to buy it. I would probably add a dropper seat post in there for sure, and eventually after I wore out those Smart Sam tires, I definitely upgrade to something a little bit more chunky, because both of those things are really going to add to the performance when you don't have that rear shock. But overall, the Reaction Hybrid Series is a very impressive bike, especially for a hardtail EMTB, which again, you don't see many of these days. And traditionally, I think people would think, they can't really perform the same way a full suspension bike can. But we did a lot of single track on these bikes, and some of it was pretty tough to maneuver, and these bikes were able to handle it. So that's gonna wrap our Reaction Hybrid review for you guys. Don't forget to like that video and subscribe to our channel and hit the bell if you want to see more EMTB reviews. The research process for getting an EMTB is long, but we will try to make it as easy as possible for you guys. Leave a comment below if you have any questions. And until next time, enjoy the ride.